Very good morning to you all this morning, and a warm welcome to a Good Friday service and a Good Friday message, but a Good Friday that is the strangest one that I have ever known. I suppose the strangest one that all of us have ever known this morning. Normally, on a Good Friday at this time, we'd be together in the church in the Bethel Bush in Clydach, and we'd be busy preparing for our service and enjoying our service together. I was thinking of what would be happening now, and Jean would be busy buttering hot cross buns for us to enjoy later. There'd be music to sort out, there'd be heating to put on, there'd be guitars to tune, there'd be flowers to organise and arrange. So many things would be happening now normally, but none of those things are happening, sadly, because of the situation that we are going through as a nation and even a world this morning. But it's still Good Friday, and it's still an important day, and still Christians all over the world are remembering the sacrifice of Jesus and are meeting together as we are this morning in this very, very different way through videos and through the wonderful technology that we've got. So I'm speaking to you from my temporary office in my bedroom this morning. So if you hear the kids shouting or the dogs barking, then just please ignore them. Today we remember the sacrifice of Jesus on Calvary on that first Good Friday. And so I'm going to read just a short passage from Matthew's Gospel. It's Matthew chapter 27, and I'm going to read from verse 32. Verse 32 says this: "Now as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name, and him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, the place of a skull, they gave him sour wine, mingled with gall, to drink. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink. Then they crucified him, and divided his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, they divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. And sitting down, they kept watch over him there, and they put up over his head the accusation written against him, This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right, and another on the left. And those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying, You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. Likewise the chief priests also, mocking with scribes and elders, said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, then let him come down from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. Even the robbers who were crucified with him reviled him with the same thing. Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour there was darkness over all the land. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, that is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of those who stood there when they heard that said, This man is calling for Elijah. And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed and offered it to him to drink. And the rest said, Let him alone, and let us see if Elijah will come to save him. And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. Then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So when the centurion who was with him, who was guarding Jesus, saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of God. And so Good Friday. It's a day when we remember together with Christians all over the world the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross of Calvary. But this morning, perhaps we are doing it when the meaning of the word sacrifice is more important and more relevant than it perhaps has been at any other time since the end of the Second World War. Because wherever we look, in our communities, in our families, and even throughout the world, we are seeing sacrifice from those brave people all over the world, doctors and nurses, shop workers and cleaners, delivery drivers, the police service, the fire service, and countless others of those key workers who continue to put themselves in danger to keep this country on its feet and to keep us all going. I'm sure you would join with me this morning in asking God to bless them and to protect them as they do so, even for the rest of us. Now, the rest of us are not immune from it either, because the rest of us, the rest of the world, are being asked to sacrifice this morning in some small way, to sacrifice the meeting of friends and of family, to sacrifice doing the things that we would love to do, to sacrifice our leisure time, particularly important on a long bank holiday weekend, such as this one, to sacrifice doing the things that we love for the good of our nation, for the good of our NHS, and for the safety of our loved ones and our country. You know, and it's hard, but we do it, and we do it for the prize that one day all this will be over. A day that will come when all this will be over, and as many people as possible will have come safely through it to join with us and celebrate a new day. Sacrifice, it's happening all over the world. It's happening to each one of us this morning. Sacrifice, a word that has more meaning to it this morning than perhaps it ever has. Sacrifice meaning, I suppose, to suffer something now with our eyes on something to come. To go through a period of pain or of suffering now with our eyes on a greater goal or a greater prize. And as a Christian this morning, as a minister this morning, then it turns my attention to the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross of Calvary. And as we are together this morning, we remember that day when he laid down his life for his world. When he laid down his life for the world. When he laid down his life in payment for the sins of the world. And when he paid the price for the sins of you and me, of each one of us, for the failure of you and me, and each one of us, for the turning away of you and me, and each one of us. Hebrews in the New Testament, the book of Hebrews in chapter 12, would give us some really good advice on this Good Friday morning. Hebrews 12, and one of the verses there tells us that we should fix our eyes upon Jesus, who for the joy that was set before him has endured the cross. The sacrifice of Jesus going through this time of suffering and this time of cruelty and this time of pain for the joy that was set before him. We can ask the Bible perhaps a question this morning. Well, what joy is that? Why did Jesus suffer in the way that he did? What was the greater prize that was on his mind and on his heart as he endured the pain of Calvary? What was in it for him? Perhaps is a very basic way of asking that question. What was it that made the pain of the cross worthwhile to him? You know, we know from his word this morning that the goal of the sacrifice of Calvary, the joy of the sacrifice of Calvary, is the chance that he has given to you and to me and to all of the world, that we might know him, that we might understand who he is and what he has done, and in knowing him, that we might live with him, not only today and for this life alone, but for all of eternity. Now, put very simply this morning, the sacrifice of Jesus tells us that he has laid down his life for you and me and for the pleasure of our company, not just for today or tomorrow, but for all of eternity. The goal of the suffering of Jesus on the cross of Calvary was that you and I might spend our time with him and our eternity with him. Now, part of something that we all do, I suppose, particularly as we're in isolation, we let our minds and our hearts wander onto the future. I suppose you, like me, have been thinking of that day when this moment in time will have come to an end. And when this time of isolation and this time of lockdown will come to an end, and all of this fear and suffering will be past. What a wonderful day that will be. What a wonderful day it will be when we get to spend time again with our families and our friends and our loved ones. What a time it will be when that fear that we are all going through now and uncertainty has gone, and we start to enjoy the things that we've taken for granted all of these years. When I can enjoy on a Friday morning a latte in Costa in Treforest, like I would love to do this morning. What a joyous day that will be when all of this is over. Now, as we think about the sacrifice of Jesus on Calvary, what a moment it is for you and me this morning as we remember our Saviour. What a moment it is, not in the future, but here in the present. What a moment it is to know that we have a Saviour who loves us and has given himself for us. You know, and as we take that advice from Hebrews chapter 12 this morning, as we fix our eyes upon him, as we look at him once again, then he is a wonderful sight. He is beautiful beyond description, as we sing so regularly at the church. He is precious to you and to me this morning, and so wonderful as we realize again that he is our Saviour. Yet, amazingly, and perhaps even more amazingly, this morning we can think and we can know that as he looks at us, and as he fixes his eyes upon you and me, that we are precious to him too. That we are valuable to him too. That we are meaningful to him too. You know, so many years have gone by since that first Good Friday. So many years have gone by since Jesus laid down his life on the cross of Calvary. Yet his word would tell us that not for a moment does he regret it. That not once has he had second thoughts about what he has done. Isaiah 53 would tell us this morning that he looks upon the travail of his soul and is satisfied. That you and I, and the opportunity that he has given to you and me, that we might know him and enjoy his presence forever and forever, it was worth all the pain of Calvary. It's something to be joyous about and something to remember here on this Good Friday morning. For his name's sake. Amen.